Hello, everyone. Today we're going to continue the summary of Discover Canada book for the Canadian citizenship exam. And we discussed today about how Canadians govern themselves. And this part, one of the considered is one of the most complex parts in the book because it has a lot of information and it may be tricky and confusing. That's why we try to simplify it as much as we can. Okay, and first we start with different level of governments. So Canada has 3 different levels of government. Okay, so the first level is federal. Second level is provincial or territory on the province or so we have. Let's say this is Canada. And it kind of has a certain number of provinces. So we have different provinces, and in each province we have cities, right? So Canada as a whole is a federal level. Each circle here is a province level, and each X or dot here is a city or municipal level, local level. Is a municipal or a city or a local level, okay? So that's why we have 3 different levels of government. Okay, so we have federal, the overall country, provincial or territory, which is a second categorization of the land, so it's a part of the land, and again the municipal or local, which for city, and each government has its own responsibilities, and they are represented with different type of members. Okay, so the federal government is represented by or elected official by member of parliament. They are member of the Parliament or House of Commons. They called MPs or Member of Parliament, and it considers only issues which is related to the overall country, which is it touches over the overall country, like what? National defense, foreign policy, citizenship, policing, policing, criminal justice, international trade, Aboriginal affairs, and for example, if we are speaking, another example is inter-province communication. If there is something between 2 provinces and we need to handle this, who will handle it? Should be a higher level, which will be the federal level, right? Okay. So this is the main some examples of what will be the responsibility of a federal government. On the province level, so the province focus on its scope. It doesn't care about the federal scope, just its scope. Okay, so for example, so the province government represented by legislative assembly. It's called MLA, member of legislative assembly, or member of national assembly, or member of provincial or parliament, or member of house of assembly. Why we have different names? Because we have different province, and each province has its own name. So some province they call them member of the legislative assembly. Other province can call it member of the provincial parliament or whatever. Okay, but they are representing the government of this province, and they focus on the province level issues like education. You know, the education system is different from between Ontario and Quebec, right? Healthcare, the health card. If you have a health card and you're going to move from Ontario to another province, like Quebec, for example, you need to get another health card because the health system is different. They have the same policies, but they have some different regulations. They have different rules, how long the health card will be active, what type of coverage are provided for the citizens. They are different, okay? That's why actually you need to have a different health card if you would like to move to another province, okay? Natural resources. So each province tries to make use of its own natural resources. Highways. So it is highways between cities. So if you are cities within center province, you'd like to have to create a highway. Which government will be responsible? Will fund this highway? Will manage this highway? Will be the province itself. Okay, for sure, not the city, because which city? If it will be between, for example, London and Toronto. So which city will be responsible for paying for this highway? For sure, no, it will be the province level. Okay, policing. So the police, actually, police is the federal police is responsible for all provinces except 2 provinces, Ontario and Quebec. Why? Because Ontario and Quebec has a large amount of people. We'll know later on that it is actually contain around half of population. So that's why it needs more control, more policing, or more police. That's why actually they have their own policing forces. Okay. Another thing also for sure will be the property and civil rights. Property and civil rights will be also responsibility for the province and territory government. Okay, there are three things which should be shared between the federal and the province. They can't, so the federal government can take the decision alone, and the province also can take the decision alone. Why? For example, immigration. Okay, if only the federal level will have the decision, how the government, the federal government will know how many people, for example, Manitoba can attain or can handle during this year, how many people can Ontario handle during this year of immigrants. So we can't do that. So there should be a negotiation and discussion between the federal government and the provincial and the territorial government to determine, for example, how many people will be handled by Ontario, by Toronto, by anybody. Okay, agriculture. We can't decide. Each province can decide. I will just make potato crops. So if all province in the same year decided to make only potatoes, or all province just make potato and anything else, what about other crops, right? So we have, there should be higher discussion on the federal level to manage, okay, to supplies or to like to make balance the crops which would be planted in different province, right? For sure, the third option would be a third thing would be environment, because any decision done by the federal may have impact on different provinces, especially on the environment level. Like, for example, to ban the gas cars or whatever. This should be a decision done between a discussion between the federal and province. So three shared areas, which will be immigration, agriculture, and environment. Okay. For the municipal level, local level, if you are inside the city, what type of option? So first of all, who will be the representative of the government? Mayor or revis? Revis in French cities and mayor in English cities. And plus, they can have also some councillors or eldermen for consultation. And any law which will be like produced or passed by this local government will called bylaw. The local laws are called bylaw, and they only affect the local community. Like, for example, if you are in London and the government of London or the mayor of London has a discussion with the councillors and decided to have a law that you can't, for example, have you can have a building higher than 3 layers or 3 floors, and this law will be applied. It is called a bylaw and only affect London. So Toronto still have building higher than 3 layers or 3 floors. Okay, this is just as an example. What responsibilities actually the municipal or local government take care of? For example, social and community health, recycling program. So take rid of the garbage, how the garbage will be handled, recycling programs. This is also local. Transportation and utility. For sure, we have London buses, London transit, or whatever. Each city has its own transportation system. Snow removal. So each city also will be responsible to handle the snow, how many times and how long it will take, and all the stuff. Police system also will be different. So each city will have its own police station for handling local issues, and firefighting also will be handled by the city. Emergency service like hospitals, emergency stations, and all the stuff. And finally, the urban original planning, streets, roads. If you would like to make a street in London, for sure the province don't have to decide about it, right? Only the local community will handle like when the street will be built and where and how and all the financial issues and all the stuff. Okay, garbage removal and all other stuff. Okay, so I hope this will be now clear. The 3 different levels of government and which issue are responsible, the government are responsible for, and all the stuff. For we said before that Aboriginal people live in their own reserves. They have their own lands, they have own reserves, and they don't really have a control by the government in this reserve. But in the First Nations, inside the reserves or this area of land, they have something called band chiefs and councils who have major responsibility. So actually, who control the reserve of the First Nation people? Actually, the band chiefs and councils, band chief and councils. Okay. Okay. Coming back again to the federal system and the government, we have some information we have to know. As a constitutional monarchy, as a constitutional monarchy, the head of state, the main head of state, or the most important person on the country is the sovereign. Sovereign is which is the king or queen of England. Okay, but the king or queen of England doesn't he or she doesn't live in Canada, right? So there must be a person that represents them in Canada and responsible to represent or be a representative of the sovereign in Canada, and this will be the governor general, and it is appointed by, it is not elected, it is appointed by the sovereign, but in which advice? The advice of the prime minister. So the prime minister will say, okay, I will recommend this person to be general governor, and it is appointed every 5 years. It is we change the governor general in Canada every 5 years. Okay, and who actually appoint the governor general? The sovereign, the queen or king of England. Okay. Okay, so the governor general represent the queen on the federal level. So governor general is a representative of the queen of the general level. But we have different parts here. We have the province. Do we need a governor general a sovereign representative in the province? Yes. So in each province, we have also a queen representative or a king representative for each province, and this is called lieutenant governor. Lieutenant governor. So the lieutenant governor is just the representative of the queen or the king on the province level. And they are also appointed by who? Appointed by the governor general. So the queen or king appoint the governor general, and the governor general appoints the lieutenant governor, the representative of the queen on the province level, and also by advice on the advice of the prime minister. And again, they are elected every 5 years. I hope if you have any question, if there's any part not clear, please add your comment under the video, and maybe I will make a better explanation of this part if I got multiple questions about it. Okay. Okay. In the 3 territories, because we know that Canada has 10 province and 3 territory. Territory is a smaller piece of land which we can call a province. We just call it a territory to represent a smaller area. And the territory, the representative of the queen is not called a lieutenant governor, it's just called a commissioner. Called what? A commissioner. It represents the federal government and play a ceremonial role. It is just actually the governor, general governor or lieutenant governor, it is a ceremonial rule. It doesn't play a real role. It doesn't make any decision in the for the government, and the main head of the government will be the prime minister, but actually just a ceremonial rule. Okay. So who is the head of the government and really rules the country? He has the real power on the country. He is the prime minister. And we are going to know how the prime minister is elected or selected on the next video. Okay. Who actually directs the governor of the country. Okay. And each province, as we have also a head of the government on the federal level. So in the federal level, the head of the government is PM, Prime Minister. But on the province level, we have a government also, so we still need a head of this government. So the head of the government of the province, so this one, Prime Minister on federal level, right? On the province, the head of the government is called Premier. Okay, and this is on the province level. So in the province level, the premier is the head of the government. It plays the same rule as the prime minister. For example, in Canada now, Trudeau is the prime minister of the federal government. But on Ontario, we have Ford. Ford is the head of the government of Ontario. It's called, so the prime minister or PM is Trudeau, but the premier of Ontario is Ford. Okay, I hope this is clear. Okay, now we would like to know how a law will be proposed in Canada. A law to be applied in Canada, it must first be a proposal. So it should be a proposal. It's called a bill. So a law proposal is called a bill, and this bill should go through the legislative branch to make it as a real law, to make it an applied law. Okay. So who actually makes the law is the parliament. And the parliament is not a single institution. It consists of 3 parts. Consists of how many parts? 3 parts. First part, House of Commons, which is elected by voters. We know how the election is done in next video. And the House of Commons is elected by voters. This is the first part of Parliament. Second part of Parliament is Senate. And this actually is appointed by the Prime Minister, appointed by the General Governor on the Prime Minister recommendation. Any appointing is done by the General Governor, but on the advice of the Prime Minister. Yeah, the Prime Minister advise some people, and the General Governor select from them. Okay, so this is called the Senate. And after the Senate is the sovereign, which is represented in Canada by who? General Governor. Okay, so how we are going to apply a law or create a new law? So first we propose a law, which is called a bill, and this proposed law is voted by the House of Commons. If it passes this vote, it will go to the Senate. It will be voted by the Senate, and if it passed by the Senate, it needs to be signed and stamped by the General Governor, who represents the sovereign, represents the Queen or King of England. And if it has been passed through all the steps, it will become a new law, Okay, and this is done by what we call a legislative branch, which do apply the law. Okay, so it's appointed by. So the Senate is appointed by General Governor, and they serve until age of 75. They can serve until age 75. And to pass a law, we need to pass by House of Commons and Senate and receive a royal assent granted by the General Governor. Must have a royal assent granted by the General Governor. Okay. After the law is applied, it must be executed, must be applied. The government must make sure that people apply the law and respect this law. And this is done by the executive branch, which is represented by who? The Prime Minister and the Cabinet, which is the government, which we're going to speak later about in the next video, the government, okay? Still, we have also, so now, after we apply the law and someone make a dispute, so he didn't respect the law or some dispute between you and between your neighbor, and you must find a result. This is done by judiciary system, by the court. So you have to go to the court, and the highest court in Canada is called Supreme Court of Canada. Okay, for sure, the House of Commons, the members of the House of Commons elected by people every 4 years, as we're going to explain in more details in next video. Okay, the Supreme Court of Canada, how many judges? They have 9 judges. This can come in the questions. So how many judges we have in the Supreme Court of Canada? It's 9. Appointed by, if it's appointed by, directly you have to say General Governor. Governor General. Okay, and then we have another level of courts. We have the federal court and we have the provincial court. And one of the next videos, we are going to speak about the judging system in Canada in details. Okay, I hope now how the Canada government works much more clear after this video. If you have any question, please add your question under the video. And see you next time. I think next time we're going to speak about elections and how the government is constructed. So have a good day, and thank you.